Hey, look, do you like Call of Duty? Do you like the video game series Call of Duty? I got some good news for you from Variety. Call of Duty movie gets mission ready with summer 2028 release date. I'm excited about this because I love Call of Duty.
Yeah, the thing is, it could just be, more war propaganda on behalf of the US government. And I hope it's not that. I hope that this movie is a bit of a twist, because it's a Call of Duty movie. What I need from this movie is I need, like, some 14-year-old from Ohio, who's white, of course, screaming the N-word while doing some, quick scoping.
Yeah, make it authentic. It's like they say, don't watch the anime if you haven't read the manga. The manga's racism. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. And this week we are celebrating the forthcoming release of The Devil Wears Prada 2, which I saw an advert for on a bus this past week. So that's when you know it's going to be a big movie, by looking at The Devil Wears Prada 1. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about the classic hit movie The Devil Wears Prada 1?
Normally when you have that tone, you're being sarcastic.
Yeah, well, I think so. I'm not entirely being sarcastic. I think it was mostly just I thought it would be funny to imply that it was such a big hit that they literally called it The Devil Wears Prada 1. So that was kind of, I guess, the main substance of the joke in my mind.
Right, I don't think that worked. But anyway, so The Devil Wears Prada, the 2006 American comedy drama film directed by David Frankel. Yes, it's based on the novel called The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weinsberger, which came out 3 years earlier. And yeah, it's of course the 20-year anniversary of The Devil Wears Prada. We may have been reviewing it anyway because of its 20-year anniversary, but the fact that there's a sequel called The Devil Wears Prada 2, very aptly named, I think.
Yes.
That's coming out soon. It means, obviously we're going to review this movie. And at the end of this review, we'll predict what we think The Devil Wears Prada will 2, of course, will get on Rotten Tomatoes. What score it will get. Will it be as good as the first one? Or will it be even better? I mean, probably not, because all legacy sequels are quite bad. And I've seen like a trailer for The Devil Wears Prada 2, and it just does not look cinematic at all. It looks very shit.
Oh, I can imagine that, yeah.
Yeah, which is the way every modern movie has to look nowadays, apparently. I don't know why. So anyway, The Devil Wears Prada. This movie does look good in a number of ways, of course, because that's kind of the point. Like I said, directed by David Frankel, and it stars Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Stanley Tucci, Simon Baker, Emily Blunt, and Adrian Grenier. The screenplay was by Aline Brosh McKenna, and I mention that because apparently, of course, it's based on this novel, and the screenplay is quite different to the novel. What happens in the movie, there's quite a few big differences, which I, having read about them, I think makes the movie better, to be honest, than the novel, from what I can tell. It was released on June the 30th, 2006 in the United States, so yeah, we're a bit away from its 20-year anniversary. And Michael, can you guess what the budget was for The Devil Wears Prada?
Well, I'm thinking, so Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway cost quite a bit of money. I feel like a lot of people in this movie cost a fair bit of money, but I don't know. I'm going to say 50 million.
Okay, that was a decent guess. It's actually a bit lower. 35 to 41, but it's good to see you've gone high. Now, the box office. You mock this movie, apparently, for not being a big hit at the box office.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess a very... No, I mean, the thing is, I knew of this movie, and I actually have seen this movie before when I was a very young man. With that said, I don't know, fucking 350 million.
What a guess. Well, it's not the best guess ever, but it's still a very good guess. 326 million. So yeah, it made basically almost 10 times its budget back. So yeah, they're very, very successful at the box office. It's a surprise that they didn't immediately go and make a Devil Wears Prada Part 2. But I guess, back in the day, again, Hollywood wasn't optimized. They didn't immediately think, searing
back in the dark days before they'd worked out how to make movies good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, before everyone was looking at the spreadsheets and caring about shareholder value as much as they do nowadays, and just banking on successful projects in the past, which they would be a hit at the box office because it's already happened.
The DWPCU. Is that too much to ask for?
But anyway, Michael, can you tell me, did you like The Devil Wears Prada?
Well, obviously we've been reviewing Oscar movies, and I must admit, while these Oscar movies, they are good, objectively speaking, they are like a lot of work mentally. Like it's kind of, even like movies I really like from the Oscars, it's sort of like, if I had to choose to watch Arrival again or just some like easy, chill, just like standard crowd pleasing movie. Yeah, I'll admit I'm a little bit plugged here. I'd be like, I wouldn't mind a crowd pleasing movie. With that said, this movie it was a very easy watch. I didn't struggle even remotely to get through this movie, and I have ADHD. So that's impressive. Overall, I don't think the movie's fantastic. I think there are a few things about it which just didn't fully hit me where I live. But I think the movie was good, fun, not bad, not great is my take on the movie. Okay. I didn't dislike it.
Wow, what great analysis there. Outstanding analysis.
Thank you.
No. I'm being sarcastic, Michael. I'm calling you stupid.
Oh, I would have understood if you would have said that my analysis was a great hit. That would have made it clear that you were being sarcastic.
Right, so it's clear that you turned your brain off for this movie, which you thought, the Oscar movies are done, let me just turn my brain off, which is what you want to do when we review movies. And
that's why I enjoyed this so much.
Yeah, and I did not turn my brain off, I kept it on. But I will concede first off that you are correct. This is I disagree with you, by the way. I'd rather watch Arrival than a crowd pleasing movie. That's because I think Arrival's a fucking great movie. But I do concede that sometimes it's nicer to watch these kind of movies than what I'd call Oscar bait movies. Well, that's not what I'd call it. What people would traditionally call them, like for instance, Train Dreams, which we reviewed recently. It's
Train Dreams was shorter. It was not easier to get through.
Yes, would I rather watch this or Train Dreams or Hamnet? I'd rather watch this because it is more entertaining. It is more watchable. I remember actually there's this famous podcaster. You won't have heard of him. He's called Bill Simmons, and he basically is more focused on sport, the NBA in particular. He's an American podcaster, but he does also like movies, and he does sometimes do podcasts about movies. And he did, I think, at the end of last year, like was it the 50 most rewatchable movies? He has this like term called rewatchable, whereas this like it's not necessarily how good a movie is, but you turn on the TV, this movie's on, and I think his definition is like, I'm not going to stop watching it because it's just so watchable. I can't. I just want to keep watching.
That's a good category because I recognize that as like a very legitimate categorization for how I think of certain movies.
Yes. Oh, you should listen to his 50 most rewatchable movies.
Yeah.
And where did he have The Devil Wears Prada? I think he had The Devil Wears Prada like number 1 or number 2. I have to check.
Wow.
It was like he had The Devil. Like again, this is a man who is obviously very into sports. Like that's how he made his name. But he does these movie podcasts, and he's like, and I don't think anyone expected it. Like his co-hosts, I think, are laughing when he says The Devil Wears Prada because it's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And The Devil Wears Prada. Oh god! But that's the thing. Like, it's not maybe the most watchable movie ever. And I'll look up exactly where he put it actually after this. But yeah, it is watchable. Like it is something you don't get bored by because it's only 100 minutes or 140. Sorry, what is the length exactly? 109 minutes long. So yes. Yeah, it goes by quite quick. It's got a good pace. It's kind of interesting. The acting is good, and you're introduced into this insane world, which I think is the draw for the audience and for Anne Hathaway's character. And yeah, so that's all very good. It's intriguing. So the movie is like as a baseline entertaining, which is good. But then you delve below the surface, and I really am a bit more cynical about this movie than probably a lot of people. Well, certainly you, Michael.
Oh, is this like, was it sponsored by the fashion industry? Is this what you're going to tell me?
No.
Oh, I thought it might be like a cynical, like, okay, never mind then.
Well, no, I like how... That's just such a funny term, sorry. Like the fashion industry, like the whole industry would like sponsor...
the fashion industrial complex is what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, like they do. You know what, we need to make a movie about ourselves. But in actual fact, I mean, maybe you're aware. You've heard of Anna Wintour, right?
No.
You have. You're just so retarded that you
Anna.
Who she is.
Oh wait, her name's not spelled like Winter, is it?
No. Yeah. Wintour. Yeah. You
do know editor-in-chief of Vogue. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the movie is apparently based off her. Yeah, but so you didn't know that. So it was definitely not sponsored by the fashion industry because one of the main players in the fashion industry would have basically, it's the Meryl Streep character. It's not a great portrayal of Anna Wintour, if it is indeed Anna Wintour. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's just how it. So it's although Anna Wintour did appear at the Oscars with Anne Hathaway, they presented an award together, I believe. So yeah, so there you go. She's gotten past her portrayal. Her skin isn't too thin. That she's fine with it now. She's fine with Meryl Streep portraying her. But yeah, so it wasn't sponsored by the fashion industry, to say the least. But the treatment of Anne Hathaway's character Andy is really quite bad, and the movie.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. Yeah, and I do kind of agree with that aspect of what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think everyone's aware, like, she's treated badly. This is, it's not something that isn't pointed out in the movie. Particularly her boyfriend, mentions it. But it's like really like quite bad in a. It's hard to like because this movie is a comedy drama, right? So it's meant to be lighthearted in some respects, but the way like this woman treats her employees is ridiculous. It's insane, and I don't think like if you actually analyze things, which I kind of like to do. I admit that I don't just let things pass over me. If you actually look at what's happening, it's like, oh yeah, like I like the way she's treated. It's not. It's so toxic, and it's not unrealistic. I can imagine. There's various workplaces that. Well, there has been various workplaces, and still are various workplaces that treats employees like how
Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes, like how Anne Hathaway's character is treated. The movie only kind of half criticizes like the cultish, thing going on at this runway publication, because it also wants to glamorize it, and I'm just like, no, I can't buy it. And so that's the deeper kind of critique. But on the surface, yes, it is relatively entertaining. So, Michael, how many nitpicks do you have?
I have one.
Okay, go for it.
I don't like that she gets the job, even though she doesn't like it. It annoys me because it's kind of like it's obviously it's it's not like a major problem in the film. But I was just thinking like they literally spend so much time stressing like, oh, there are women who would love to get this job, and I'm like, man, that's a real dick move to take a job that so many other people would absolutely love. Although, maybe whatever. I don't know. Would they love it? Whatever. But I just thought to myself, like, imagine if, I don't know, Luke, you're really imagine if there was a job to work for a deep analysis of movies company, and you saw it advertised, you went in for that job, and obviously you love deep analysis of movies, so you'd be like, yeah, cool. And then you find out it went to someone who just had no interest in deep analysis of movies at all, just because, I don't know, the CEO, or what even is her? She's the chief editor. I don't even know what her job is, but whatever. I'm not touching on that. She liked his spunk. You wouldn't like that, would you, Luke? You'd be mad. So there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, this seems less a nitpick and just more like actually criticizing, an important decision a character makes in the movie. To be honest with you.
Well, I guess it was more. I guess really it was a nitpick on society, because sometimes I think it's a shame in society in general that probably a lot of the time people who really want jobs don't get those jobs. So. Okay. It makes me sad.
Yeah. So, by the way, Bill Simmons, this, again, famous podcaster that I talked about, ranked The Devil Wears Prada as his #1 most rewatchable movie of the 21st century.
That's beautiful.
Citing its perfect hang factor and, performances. It's exceptionally well acted and easy to watch at any point. That's what he said. So, there you go. And it has some iconic moments, which I would agree with. But, yeah, so, again, if you want to turn your brain off, you can, but I don't really like to do that, unfortunately. I am kind of like Meryl Streep or Anne Hathaway, I guess, in this movie. I just can't turn my brain off.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
If you think about it, yeah, because I'm just too driven. I'm on the go all the time. And I also really do like Starbucks. So there you go. We share that. We've got so many things in common. Anyway, Michael, before we get into the plot. We're going to talk about the genre of movie. Well, I say the genre of movie. So this, of course, was based on it was based on a best-selling book, The Devil Wears Prada, of course, that came up a few years earlier. So you're going to get into this genre of movie,
genre
of the media in general.
The novel and movie was an example of the chick lit genre. Chick lit is a term used to describe popular fiction targeted at women, widely used in the 1990s and 2000s. Chick lit media typically addresses romantic relationships, female friendships, and workplace struggles in humorous and light-hearted ways. Typical protagonists are white, urban, straight, educated women in their late 20s and early 30s, the most annoying demographic on Earth. I would also like on record, I mispronounced protagonist for comedic effects, just so that being known.
That's harsh. The most annoying demographic on Earth, hey?
Yeah, well, that's presumably, this guy who you stole all of your notes from. He said that he said that they were the most annoying. I mean, to be fair, obviously this is a good point. This is a type of this is a real thing. Obviously, the other one's Bridget Jones's Diary, which is a very bad. I watched Bridget Jones's Diary on a plane, and it's actually a surprisingly bad movie. That's my take of the day.
Well, I would not say it's surprising at all, to be honest with you. Because again, I don't know, why would you assume
hate women?
Why would you assume it's a good movie? You know, I see this movie is actually quite surprising because, you know, it's actually not bad. It's not awful, even though, you know, based on the book and based on the subject, you would maybe assume it would be awful, but it's not. Which is again a credit to, I guess the screenplay and the directing and the acting. It's all very good. This chick lit genre, basically, that is a term which it's not used anymore. Of course, because it kind of fell out of style. Or
people don't say chick anymore either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it makes me want to say the word clit.
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting. It's interesting. Into your mind there.
Yeah, well, to me, it feels very like 1990s girl power. Like this is like it's like this idea of like women are a new demographic we can exploit in terms of marketability.
Yeah, but they wouldn't say they're being exploited. They're saying, finally, we've got stories for us, you know, us urban, educated, white women. You know, we've had it so tough, you know. Like, we really need some media to cater to us, and we've got it.
And then they came for the video games.
Yeah, and then you'll go into that in the next paragraph.
Yes. The 1990s chick lit heroine was an evolution from the traditional romantic heroine in her assertiveness, financial independence, she don't need no man, and enthusiasm for conspicuous consumption. The 1997 novel, Sex and Also the City, adapted into a well-known TV show, was a famous example of this.
So this was a big thing in the 90s, the 2000s. You had these women living in urban areas who, you know, loved shopping, loved fashion, and I believe the Friends character, Rachel, also, I think she had a job in the fashion industry in Friends, of course in New York as well.
Yes.
So again, same kind of thing, and then of course Sex in the City. Well, I have an issue with this genre because again, you said you were surprised how bad Bridget Jones's Diary was, and you know it's very kind of trashy, and I think because women like it and it's targeted at these women who are often educated and often have power in the more power in the media, you know, somewhat because of their stature, you know, and they write about how this kind of like movie or book, you know, it's breaking the patriarchy because it's aimed at women, you know, it's a TV show for women, and so therefore it's like important, it's valuable, it's meaningful, when in reality it's really not. And I feel like the initial book, The Devil Wears Prada, was kind of shit from what I have seen, but then it got turned into something actually quite good, which is what is surprising about it. So yeah, this movie I think it's not quite chick lit because it's actually better because it actually elevated itself above, you know, what you'd normally get from this kind of genre. So yeah, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but yeah.
I think I would be inclined to agree that this is certainly better than, I think, like if nothing else, this movie is it succeeds more at the feminism thing by being significantly less about relationships. Like the thing that surprised me about, I guess, like when I think about Bridget Jones's Diary, the thing about it is like I know that a lot of mainstream media efforts at feminism are occasionally lacking, if you can imagine such a thing. But I was surprised at just how much Bridget Jones's Diary just leaned into this idea that this woman is just a complete pathetic piece of shit if she can't have a man in her life. Like literally the entire movie is just this miserable look at this fucking loser. She's so pathetic because she don't have a man in her life. And that was what surprised me. And of course that's different to this movie, where I think this movie succeeds in that it's not just about how much this woman fucking sucks because no men like her, which is well done, progressive, I would say.
No, yeah, very progressive indeed. Yeah. Right. So yeah, again, but that's the thing. So what you've just described there is not like this movie, really, is it?
No, absolutely not. No, yeah. This movie passes the Bechdel test, if you can imagine such a thing.
I fucking hope it passes the Bechdel test. I imagine if it didn't. Right, okay. So, yeah, let's get into the plot then.
Yes. Andy moves to New York to work in fashion industry. Her boss is extremely demanding, cruel, and won't let her succeed if she doesn't fit into the high-class, elegant look of their magazine. That's, I mean... Did you want me to read it in an Indian accent? But no, yeah, I think... it's not a terrible description, I guess.
No, I just didn't think it was that good.
No, yeah.
Because like her boss won't let her succeed. Like what? No, that's not true. Like, it's more about her just doing her job well. That's what really wins Meryl Streep over. But anyway, let's do the actual real description.
Yeah, so this is the real one.
Yeah.
So Andy Sachs is an aspiring journalist who gets a job at a fashion magazine, but finds herself at the mercy of her demanding editor, Miranda Priestley.
Yeah.
That's
so
that.
yeah, Anna. Yeah, so it's an interesting premise because obviously somebody worked for Anna Wintour and was like, why don't we why don't I write a book about this, because it's insane, like this world. And yeah, it is insane, like what you're doing, the lives, the life that you're living. This girl, Anne Hathaway's character Andy, gets suckered into this world and I think is intrigued by the glamour of it. And also, of course, at the same time, we as the audience, we get sucked into this world. And we are intrigued by, the glamour and everything that's going on, and Paris fashion.
If you're gay.
Sorry?
If you're gay, you're intrigued in this stuff. I was busy thinking about how hot Anne Hathaway was. But that's just me. You were busy thinking. You were busy getting intrigued by the world of fashion.
You said you liked it more than me.
Yeah, I know. I liked it entirely because of Anne Hathaway being hot. I swear.
You should have said that at the start, then.
Oh no.
I
have no credibility anymore.
It's a very interesting world that we go into, but of course, at the same time, the toxicity of that world, it's touched on and we see it, but again we see the consequences because we're following Andy, our main character, who succeeds in this world despite the toxicity, and she doesn't let that drag her down. And I'm like, well, again, how realistic is that? Not very. So that again, that's where I have a problem with it, because again, it's a good movie, I think, if you turn your brain off. Which it's a fun movie, and that's I have to give the movie some credit for that, because some movies are not fun when you turn your brain off. But yeah, anything to say?
No, yeah, I do basically agree. I think this movie, it has, like, I guess, an energy to it, which at sometimes is you could say a bit depressing, I suppose. Depressing feels like too strong, but it's more what's the word I'm looking for, when something's like under the surface, insidious. There's an insidious energy to the movie at some points with her plowing on attitude, but I think at the same time that energy, it does motivate you to plow on through the movie. I also like the fact that it has musical montages, like a lot of musical montages, which made it a lot easier to get through, and I think that was a very shrewd move. Yeah.
No, some good musical montages at the right time. I think it's well paced for sure, and that insidiousness. It means I'm not saying for a moment that this movie is like propaganda for the fashion industry or propaganda for Vogue and Anna Wintour, because it's not, because it does criticize her, but it doesn't like fully criticize her. It leaves the door open for you to think, well, I still think this world is glamorous and cool. And I think that's the problem. I'm like, the door kind of should be fully closed. To be honest, given what these girls have to go through. But let's move on to the inspiration.
Yes. Weisberger is believed to have based Miranda on Anna Wintour, the editor-in-chief of Vogue, for whom she herself had once worked as a personal assistant. Fear of what Wintour might do in retribution for any visible cooperation with the production posed obstacles in the fashion and film industries. The movie also took inspiration from the 2001 Ben Stiller film Zoolander, satirizing the fashion industry. Wow, I can't believe they would slander Zoolander like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, Zoolander focuses on male models. That's what it's satirizing, or modeling in general, I guess.
Yes.
But rather than like, the people who decide what clothes go on the model. It's interesting again. Like Anna Wintour, incredibly powerful. And again, like people were scared of what she might do. If anybody worked with this movie, which again proves like how accurate the Meryl Streep character.
Yeah, that is funny.
Does that scream like comedy? Does that scream like lighthearted, like fun, like flick? I would say no, not really.
Yeah, I want to ask something, and I feel like you will know this. Am I right that Edna Mode was also based on Anna Wintour?
Edna Mode, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because
But
I was thinking like they look very similar.
yeah, obviously, she has a similar hairstyle.
Yes.
So yeah, that's probably But
Yeah,
yeah,
I wonder if they're
obviously,
worried about that too.
let's get into the plot or
Yes.
script. Yeah.
Aspiring journalist Andrea Andy Sachs has recently graduated from Northwestern University. Despite her lack of knowledge of the fashion industry, she is hired as a junior personal assistant to Miranda Priestley, the cruel editor-in-chief of Runway magazine in New York City. You could say she's cruel, a devil, is what you could say. I thought it was incredibly... it's funny how little effort they really put into explaining why she gets this job that she does. I thought that was... It kind of reminded me of fucking Anastasia Steele working for Christian Grey.
Well, that's a very different circumstances there. Again, I don't think Meryl Streep wants to fuck Anne Hathaway's character in this movie, which makes it slightly different. But marginally. I do like how, again, you've said in your nitpick you don't think it's realistic, but I like how the movie starts. You get suddenly assy, this is what I want to be, and you get a montage of girls who I assume work at Runway, who are very different to Anne Hathaway in what they do, getting up in the morning, what clothes they put on. Yeah, I like that. That's a very good start to the movie. Very well done. And I think you got some good characterization with Anne Hathaway. She plays it very well. She is somewhat believable, but and obviously she's this journalist, and they care about substance, so they don't really care about style that much. So I get that, but her fashion, it's so bad,
Oh yeah, I did. I love that aspect of just how stupid it was. She's just completely.
I think it would hit harder if she was only like half bad. If she was just dressed in kind of normal clothes, she was going for an interview and she wasn't dressed in as she was dressed. She didn't look like a model. She didn't look incredibly stylish, but she was almost there, and that would make again all the. Everyone mocking her, they would look even more insane and deranged because it's I'm just wearing kind of normal clothes,
Yeah.
And I think that would hit harder. But yeah, there you go. What would you think of that?
No, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, basically, they obviously, yeah, I mean, it is so funny the way they have to have her be so just frumpy, I guess, is the thing. Yeah. And this was also a thing. I felt like this was definitely a thing in the 90s, 2000s, which was having very attractive women, but you just make them in some superficial way that can easily be changed. You make them look unattractive. And I don't know, it is honestly one of my favorite tropes just because it's so silly. So I did kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, no, if you just made her a bit frumpy, I think it would work a lot better. It would make Emily Blunt's character look even more insane, and everyone else even more insane. Because you are kind of half agreeing with them, which you really shouldn't, But anyway, let's get into the casting of Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway. For Andy, Fox wanted a young A-list actress and felt Rachel McAdams, coming off successes in Mean Girls and The Notebook, would help the film commercially. McAdams turned down several offers to play Andy. Anne Hathaway actively sought the part, tracing "Hire me" in the sand of the Zen Garden on Carla Hacken's desk when she talked about the project. While David Frankel liked her, she thought she was not the studio's first choice and that he would have to be patient. Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, I wonder if this is because... the only other thing I know about Anne Hathaway, apart from, bloody that gay movie, is she was in The Princess Diaries, where there's a whole thing of her being, ugly and she has to get a makeover and blah, blah, blah. I don't... why do you think they didn't like her?
I'm not sure. I guess because they just preferred Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
I think Rachel McAdams would have done quite a good job because she's also a very good actress. And I think she could. Rachel McAdams can play that normal girl, and then obviously she's also an attractive actress. So she can do that as well, and that's what they wanted. She was coming off The Notebook, of course, which I think the demographic that loves The Devil Wears Prada probably also loves The Notebook.
Yeah.
But I do like though that Anne Hathaway was not the first choice, which kind of mirrors her character in the movie, so that's good. And I do think she plays it well. She gives a very good performance. But again, the underlying issue, and it would be the same with Rachel McAdams.
Is she too bang tidy?
I wasn't going to use that phrase.
Oh, okay. You're going to use a slightly more offensive phrase.
You mentioned she was hot before, and that's the problem. It's she's quite generically Or what was the phrase that people say?
I think
So
generically
not-
attractive.
Is that the phrase? Okay. I think it actually conventionally. That was the
Oh
word I
yes,
was-
yes, conventionally is a better word.
Yeah, and so therefore you're watching this and you're thinking she's more stylish now. You know, she changes her clothes. You know, she just, as she says later in the movie, throws something on and it looks really nice. And that's of course meant to show, you know, her character arc. But like she doesn't change her like her facial appearance, you know, that much. Like she's still like, again, conventionally attractive. So does it work? To be honest, you know, does it really work? Because it is Anne Hathaway. I guess the audience, they wouldn't want someone who looks a lot worse than Anne Hathaway, because again, there is a fantasy element going on here of like the audience wanting to see themselves in the shoes of Anne Hathaway, and of course, you know, therefore you got to get someone who is relatively attractive. Oh, not just relatively, like very relatively attractive to play that role. Yeah, again, like, you know, if she, despite what she's wearing, if Anne Hathaway walks through the door, I think Meryl Streep's character is looking at her and thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, she, whatever, she's wearing shit clothes, but she is good looking. Like she could definitely work in this office.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. Like again, it's a pretty standard thing in these movies to have because actors are always, or actresses are always hot. There's no unhot actresses, so. Yeah, basically, it is always funny when you get these female leads in these movies where they're clearly, we're supposed to, they're written as unattractive, but they're really attractive. It is funny. Andy fits in poorly with her superficial, fashion-forward co-workers, particularly Miranda's senior assistant, Emily Charlton, and struggles to meet Miranda's irrational demands. I actually find it so funny that Miranda hires her having just been told, like basically, because Anne Hathaway's pitch for why she should be hired is, oh, I don't really know anything about this, but I learn quickly. And I mean, maybe Miranda's got a, you know, but like, and I get it. Obviously, the point of Miranda is unreasonable, but it is crazy that she literally hires this woman who's just said she doesn't really know anything, but she'll learn quickly. But then, like, immediately on day one, she's saying like all this really specific stuff. I was like, oh my god, I would kill myself.
Yeah,
which
I know.
I guess is kind of the point. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, you haven't worked a lot of jobs in your life.
Yeah, but I've seen other people work them.
Yeah, but it is sometimes like that. Is it cliche, or was it cliche before this movie? Because of course, you know, I think everyone is aware how demanding people are in the fashion industry or the entertainment industry, you know, and how irrational these people are as well, and they're very demanding. But again, it is real life. So, you know, this was written from what she called Weisberg, or whatever she's called. She wrote this from her perspective. So, I don't think it's fair to say, oh yeah, you know, it's cliche how ridiculous, you know, this this job is and how ridiculous this office is. But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, this is real life. So how can it be like cliche? You know?
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I would agree. I'm sure, like, and that's the thing. A lot of cliches are based on truth. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Although I would imagine it probably is exaggerated. Is my take. In the cerulean speech, Miranda links the designer fashion in Runway's pages and Andy's cerulean blue sweater, criticizing Andy's snobbishness about fashion. The speech became one of the film's most memorable moments. Morwenna Ferrier in The Guardian agreed that fashion mattered, even people who claim to be oblivious to trends. Mike wrote that the speech functioned as a critique of cultural appropriation. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think it did.
That's so funny.
I don't think it. Yeah, I was trying to work that out. I was like, does it function as a critique of? Well, maybe if you take that logic of like, you know, you have this authentic like culture, and then like it filters down, you know. But is that even like critiquing like cultural appropriation, or
yeah,
you know, because Miranda Priestley in this scene isn't critiquing what has happened, you know, to get to this cerulean sweater that Andy is wearing. You know, she's not critiquing how that happened. She's just saying that is what happened, and that is, you know, how the fashion industry affects everything. And yeah, I think it's this. This is why you had to have a scene in the movie like this, because it's an important scene. Because otherwise, Miranda would look stupid, or the whole like runway thing would look stupid. So the audience and Anne Hathaway's character have to be reminded how important fashion is. So yeah, so Andy has to get owned here, you know. But the reality is that fashion, it's not serious. Like again, there are some people who care a lot about it, and again, it's you know, this multi-billion-dollar industry. But again, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. There are so many more things important in life. So who cares if Andy's sweater was cerulean blue or it was another shade of blue.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Like it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah. See, I was thinking because I was like thinking to myself, the logic of this speech doesn't make any sense because she's saying like, oh, the thing you just picked up was chosen by someone. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean it mattered to me when I picked it up. Like, it's kind of like if I bought a phone case. That's a weird example, but whatever. Let's say I bought a phone case and someone was like, oh, what color's your phone case? And I was like, oh, I don't really care. Like, it's, whatever. And then like they went on a big speech about how they work for a phone case designing company and I picked this specific color. Okay, well, I still don't care because I wouldn't have cared if it was any other color. Like, it doesn't, the logic of it doesn't make any sense, which I did find funny.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense because, it's important because that shade of blue, that filtered down, over the years and you're wearing it now. Okay, like, fine. But what if it was another shade of blue?
Exactly. It's like, if it was a different shade, I wouldn't care. So it doesn't matter.
No, at the end of the day, it's there is no substance here. It is all style, which again, it's not surprising for the fashion industry, but it's just, it's a good speech from Meryl Streep. It's well done. But I think it doesn't show that the fashion industry is important in any way. It's like, as long, everybody is going to wear clothes, right?
Yes.
We, unless you live in a nudist colony, like everybody's wearing clothes, so everybody's got to wear something. And again, unless you're talking about functionality, which again, functionality doesn't come into it at all when when we're talking about the fashion industry, at least in the context of runway, then who cares? It can be whatever color, whatever looks nice, whatever's the trend. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's not important. But anyway, let's continue.
Yes, let's move on to talking about the casting of Meryl Streep, since we've spoken about the casting of Anne Hathaway. Meryl Streep was almost passed over because people thought she was not funny. Her casting helped offset the difficulties Winter's resistance to the film had created. Is that because she looks different, or because Meryl Streep's considered classy, so she was like, "Oh, I get to be played by a classy, really famous actress"?
No, neither of those. You're very dumb. It was because Meryl Streep is such a big name. So if she signs on, the film's going to get invested. Because again, when this film went into, I guess, pre-production or whatever, how viable is this movie? Because, Anna Wintour is going to be opposed to it. And of course, she's a big deal in the fashion industry. But if Meryl Streep says, I'll do this movie, all of a sudden people are more confident. So if she's signed on, okay, that means, people are going to go see it. There's not going to be as much backlash because is Anna Wintour going to go up and criticize Meryl Streep? She can't ruin Meryl Streep's career. That's impossible.
Meryl Streep's more famous, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. So it was a great performance. She's one of the reasons why this movie works so well. That old cliche that Meryl Streep, she can play anything and everything. She can. She's a very good actress. One of the best. And I don't know actually if she got nominated for an Academy Award for this performance. I'll check. But this is why people say she's so good. She did get nominated for an Academy Award. She did not win it though. This movie also, would you believe, got nominated for Best Costume Design, which is and
it didn't win that.
No, it did not win that. No, but it should have got nominated for costume design. It'd be crazy if it didn't, considering that's what this whole fucking movie is about. But
it would be very disappointing if it didn't. Anyway, after Andy fails to arrange for Miranda to be flown back from Miami during a hurricane, Miranda berates her. Andy approaches Runway's art director, Nigel, for advice, and he helps her select stylish clothes to wear to work. So, we kind of, I think, mentioned the weird, vibe with this film in terms of how it handles emotion and stuff. It was very weird to me that this guy who's, I don't know, gay, and you feel like he's supposed to be her gay best friend or something, just is completely unfazed by her crying. It's a very weird scene where she's, really upset, and this guy's just like, "You're fucking ugly." Weird. I don't know. I imagine because that's kind of a thing that you have an issue with. I imagine you had a particular issue with that.
Yes, this is the pivotal scene in the movie. This is where I wrote a lot in my notes because I'm like, what the fuck is happening in this scene? Because again, it kind of hides this movie again hides, I think, how toxic things are in this workplace somewhat. Even though it does show it, but it doesn't go the full way because here is all right, Miranda, she's being a toxic boss. But very very much so. Why didn't you get me on a flight from Miami to New York?
During a hurricane,
when there was no planes? How could you? Again, it's just what a fucking ridiculous thing to criticize Andy for. And then Andy is admonished. She's crying, and you're right. Nigel this gay best friend. He doesn't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or "Hey, she's being a terrible boss. Just deal with it." No. And then basically his solution, as it says in the Wikipedia, section, is he helps her select stylish clothes for her to wear to work.
Yes.
And so a solution is a makeover. Like, she gets new clothes and is now stylish, as if that's meant to solve the problem that her boss is awful.
Yeah.
And she still hates her job, of course. Like, and maybe you could say, well, what Nigel is saying is you need to have passion for this job. You need to have commitment, and then maybe Meryl Streep won't be as hard on you, even if she had all the passion in the world. Even if she was so committed to the job, it wouldn't stop the fact from the hurricane still existing and all the flights being cancelled. That's so. Again, it was a scene which for me summarized what was wrong with the movie, because after she gets a makeover after this, Andy, and it's meant to be an uplifting scene. It's like, she's finally getting into the the runway philosophy, I think Wikipedia calls it later. But no, it's like all that's happening here is her genuine, actual correct criticisms of her boss and of maybe the industry are being pushed to one side. And the makeover is, you could say, it's a survival tactic. You've now submitted to what's fucking what's she called, Meryl Streep's character.
Yes, whatever her name is.
Miranda. Yeah, what Miranda Priestley wants. That's what you've done. You've submitted to what she wants. Again, I just think it's a ridiculous scene for a couple of reasons.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah, bearing in mind the criticism you brought up first and foremost being the way this film handles that specific aspect of the toxicity of the workplace, I was thinking, this is a scene where because I know you were saying, "Oh, Michael, you watched this film without your brain on," and to an extent, I did enjoy watching this film without my brain on. But even without my brain on, I was still like, okay, that makes no sense. Anyway, noticing Andy's increased commitment to the job, Miranda delegates more important tasks to her. As Andy absorbs the runway philosophy, she outperforms Emily, who yearns to attend Paris Fashion Week. I also found it weird that Miranda hired Andy knowing she wasn't into fashion, got mad at her about something that had nothing to do with fashion, like we already said, but then starts liking her more. Because it's kind of weird, because within the logic of the film, it's actually her changing her fashion works, which I think that's film being silly.
Because it maybe shows she's committed to the job now again, which it's fine. Okay, that impresses Miranda, but at the same time, to use the hurricane example, it's she's really mad at that, and
just got to bootstrap some planes into existence.
No amount of stylish clothes can fix that. But the Paris Fashion Week isn't really subtle foreshadowing, is it?
No.
But that's all you need. You just need to be more committed, and then everything will be fine. I thought of the movie Whiplash while watching this.
Yes.
You just submit to this toxic authority figure, absorb everything in the quote-unquote runway philosophy, and you'll be okay. Become part of, like I said before, this cult. And this movie only half criticizes it. It doesn't go the full way, which I believe should be a full, throated critique of this, situation that Andy is in. But what do you think?
Oh, no, absolutely. I would agree. I feel like this film, it's a weird film. And by the end, I almost thought this film should be, I feel like I'm watching what should be the end of The Godfather. This is pretty grim in terms of the reality as well. Yeah, it's weird tonally. Basically that's it. Just tonally, the film's very hard to discern.
Yeah, again, this transformation of Andy is meant to be, a good thing. Look at her now, but she's been forced to do that, she's been forced to do this, and eventually she becomes suckered in and fully embraces it, this runway philosophy. But right now at this point in the movie, she's been forced to wear these stylish clothes so her boss doesn't abuse her. And I'm okay. I don't think that's actually a good thing, to be honest with you. And again, the movie doesn't really criticize it that much and frames it as kind of look, she's doing good.
Yes, I think that's a fair way of putting it. Florals for spring? Groundbreaking. That's what I have to say to your comment. No, Miranda's sarcastic response to Jocelyn's story suggestion for floral spring prints has been considered the film's best line. Now, Luke, you're a gay man. why is that considered such a great line?
I'm not a gay man, by the way. Just to
You're happy.
Be clear. Sorry.
You're happy, which is being gay.
I'm actually not happy.
Sorry, yeah, but you are homosexual. I'm not happy, but I am homosexual. So yeah, I mean that's like, I mean, isn't that just like pretty? I hate to say I hate women, but is this like a case of women discover sarcasm for the first time? Because like, isn't that just pretty standard? Like,
No, I just think it's like Meryl Streep's delivery, and to be fair, it's very good. Like florals for spring. Groundbreaking. Like it's the perfect mix of like sarcasm and like questioning, or asking a question. Like
she writes that line.
Yeah, so I did think that was a good line delivery. But yeah, this is the big problem with the fashion. It's all fucking nonsense, Like I read why Anna Wintour was successful at Vogue. Why she did turn Vogue around, and it's not because she was like this genius who could like spot trends in fashion. Well, I mean that is part of it, of course, but what she did was basically cater the magazine, to her audience more. She made like it was all about making like the stuff in Vogue more accessible to the readers, and of course that has to do with like pricing. Of course, that's the main thing. So that's what she did. She catered it to a bigger demographic, and she wasn't like this. What's the term you're looking for? Where it's like this genius who can like spot things that nobody else can, like this visionary.
Yeah, I was going to say visionary. Yeah, that's what you meant. Yeah, no, yeah, I can see that. Like basically,
yeah.
I mean, it's only so far you can go with this sort of stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. So when she's like, no florals. Oh, we did that 2 years ago. No, I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like it doesn't really fucking matter. Like as long as it doesn't look awful, as long as it looks aesthetically pleasing, people will buy the magazine. People will buy stuff in the magazine or want to buy stuff in the magazine because, of course, the price matters as long as the price is relatively low, and that's the key. And that's what Anna Wintour did. And it wasn't like she could like spot things, and she just had this fucking what does Sherlock Holmes have in his brain?
Intuition.
His mind palace. That's what.
Oh, yes.
She doesn't have. Anna Wintour wasn't successful because she has this mind palace of all this like fashion stuff. Going on up. In her brain. And she knows everything. And she knows exactly. No, it's just like basic like I guess business decisions. It's like make this magazine more accessible to our. To potential consumers, and they'll buy it more. She wasn't this like genius, from what I can tell, and that's what this movie does. It does elevate like this character into this like quasi like all-seeing visionary, Which I don't think the real Anna Wintour was like that, or is like that,
No, yeah, I agree. It's sort of weird. I'm comparing it to 50 Shades of Grey again. It reminds me of 50 Shades of Grey when Anastasia says, like, oh, we should be publishing more books, and everyone acts like it's genius. It's not kind of this. It's not the exact same vibe because obviously that's someone who's a bit of an amateur making a suggestion. Everyone's like, oh wait, by golly, that might work. What if our publishing company published more books? But it's kind of, I don't know. It's or you know what else it also reminds me of? Ashton Hall. When he shows his like morning routine, and it's just like a clip of him like working because he's an influencer, and it's just him talking to his character like, we got to be doing at least 10,000, and it's that's how he's a serious businessman, because you have no idea what he's talking about. I don't know. I think I like efforts to just show like, oh, this person is a businessman, this or woman, this person like they do the business, whatever that is.
Well, Ashton Hall was saying that, by the way. I think it's become a bit of a meme, but do you know why he said we got to do at least 10,000?
No.
Because he's a personal trainer, and I think he was talking about how many steps somebody has to get in.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So that's why, yeah. But no, it is funny because it's just like a big number, we got to do at least 10 that. But yeah, no, I think I just had to point that out. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's all her personal preference, Like it's just like whatever Miranda Priestley thinks, and it's like fashion is inherently subjective. And that's why, again, what I was thinking watching this movie is there are laptops and computers that exist, in this office, but, in the modern day, or I don't know, maybe even like a few years later, everyone would have laptops and everyone would be looking at the data. It's like, this dress or this particular style fashion, that did very well. And again, that would be that would be better if you want to, increase sales of the magazine. Because you'd actually be looking at data, because no matter how good someone is, how visionary someone is, like the raw data would be better. But
the almighty algorithm.
Yeah, but exactly. Yeah, it would optimize. As everything is nowadays. Everything is so data driven. But there's not one line in the movie where anyone talks about fucking data. It's all about like Miranda Priestley and whatever she wants. Like, again, she's this insane visionary genius, which is again just not realistic, and it's not true, and it's bullshit. But whatever. Let's move on.
Yes. So when Emily arrives to work sick and forgets about the guests at a charity benefit, Andy steps in to save Miranda from embarrassment. Miranda selects Andy to be her assistant at Paris Fashion Week instead of Emily. Yeah, I mean, she's sick, so fair enough. Good stuff. Yeah, it's very conveniently timed.
Yeah, well, Emily forgot like one couple, and then Andy knows it. And she steps in, and that's enough apparently. Again, I just think it's kind of ridiculous. Emily should mess up more because she's making little mistakes, but it's still, it's like playing, to use an American football term, which I'm sure the demographic who like this movie would love. It's like playing the backup quarterback because your first choice quarterback threw a couple of picks. It's like, okay, like let's not make a change that hastily. You don't know how good the backup is unless you put them in for an extended period of time. And to make a decision that rash to change who you're going to take to Paris Fashion Week over like one bad day for Emily, that's crazy.
I was also I was thinking that too. It's like ridiculous. It makes her look like she's not actually, like, it's one of those things where you get the impression she's not actually good at her job. Like, I mean, I guess she must be, but I don't know, like, there's no real logic to anything she's doing.
Yeah, well, if she wasn't good at her job, she would have probably been fired, right? Judging by the standards that Miranda sets. So she forgot one couple. And and she was remembering all the other couples, all the other guests at this charity event, but she just forgets one, and Andy knows it, and that's enough apparently. I just know, I'm sorry, ridiculous. You could have written that better, to be honest. Emily still has the most responsibility. Honestly, justice for Emily. That's what I'm saying.
Although Emily was kind of a bitch, like.
I know, but like she was a bitch, but at the end of the day, she was still very good at her job.
She was a good bitch.
She was a good bitch. And honestly, I'm gonna defend Emily. Despite everything, I'm gonna defend her in a bit. Let's go on.
Yeah, lovely. All right, so Emily is hit by a car. While visiting her in hospital, Andy informs Emily of Miranda's changed plan, and Emily berates Andy for accepting the offer. Can I say this? It is a bit weird that now, at this point, she definitely can't go anyway. And you could say maybe because she was being called on the phone, that stressed her out. That's why she got hit by the car. But there's not really a logic to that. I thought it was a bit weird to have this situation where it's like, at that point, she couldn't go anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, but it's meant to be symbolic. It's like this is what can also happen. If you work in this industry, you don't get to go to Paris Fashion Week and you end up, literally injured. Like with a broken leg, and getting hit by a car. Like everything bad can happen to you. And Emily is like kind of the dark side of what can happen to you in this industry. But the thing, again, this is the problem though. The movie isn't from her perspective, is it? So the audience thinks, well, that won't happen to me, because we're following fucking Andy. We'd never be like Emily. We won't turn out like Emily. And I think that's how this movie hides its toxicity again, because the main character is not Emily. The main character is Andy, and everything works out for Andy, and everything doesn't work out for Emily. But she's a bitch, so we don't care about her. I mean, do you agree with that?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I agree so much that I'm struggling to think of anything else to add. But yeah, basically, you're right.
I think this industry like chews people up and spits them out, and that happens far more often than what happens with Andy. But of course, we follow Andy. We follow Andy's story and not Emily's.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I would agree. Andy's boyfriend, Nate, breaks up with her, disappointed that she has become one of the shallow, egotistical women she once ridiculed. Yeah, I thought this is like one of those things where it felt like very cliche, very just like sort of like an obvious thing the movie does, which to me, I don't know if this fully made sense as a development.
I don't think it makes sense because I think the boyfriend has every right to be angry with her, which we'll get into. But what Nate says is that she's become again egotistical, and she's not really. Like, she's still kind of the same character. She hasn't changed that much.
Yeah,
she's just like devoting all her time to Miranda, and again, I would describe it as she's been suckered into this cult. I think the film kind of thinks it's asking, what are you willing to give up to be at the top? And Andy, I don't think she like cares. She doesn't seem to be that ambitious.
No, yeah.
She just is driven by, I guess, not wanting to let Miranda down. I don't think she's driven by that ambition. I think more so she's driven by wanting to be a part of this world and not wanting to quit and not wanting to fail. And I think that's what what drives her. And like maybe it's her ego, like her pride, like no, I won't quit, no, I'm gonna make this work.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's more of like it's more like Walter White in a similarly quality piece of media, Breaking Bad, where it's kind of like, the real issue is that he should just fucking stop trying to make this work when he's in a bad situation. She's going along with other people's bullshit, and that's no bueno, I say.
Yeah, again, yeah. So I don't think that she I don't think that she's like shallow. I really at all, to be honest with you. I don't think her character changes that much, which I think the movie is kind of suggesting that it does with this, because you might kind of agree with Nate in this scene, but again, the movie hasn't really changed her character that much. Again, I think from what I can tell from actually watching the movie, again, like the reason why she sticks around is because she doesn't want to fail, because she doesn't want to give up, she doesn't want to quit. Despite all the criticism, she's stuck at it because she's like, no, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to show these people that I'm good at this job.
Yes.
Have you seen this criticism of? Well, I don't think it's a criticism of the movie, but the criticism of the character Nate. Have you seen that?
So I saw, weirdly, I happened to see on Reddit, and I don't know why, so I looked up something about this film, I saw it on Reddit, people complaining about Nate and her friends in combination, saying that they were being unreasonable because, like, she was basically stuck doing a shitty job, and it wasn't her fault that she was, like, working at this job. I don't know, is that what you're touching on?
Yes. Yeah, well, okay, basically, people have said, and I've seen this, that like it's one of those things. We talked about Frankenstein last time. Now the real villain or the real monster, it is actually Frankenstein. The mad scientist. Not the creature he creates. And the real villain. Well, you think it may be Meryl Streep and Miranda, but it's not. It's Nate, the boyfriend. He's the real villain of this movie. And I've seen people like say that before on in posts on the internet. And I watched this movie like years ago, and I don't remember anything. So I can't, I come back to watch it for a second time, and I'm like, how the fuck could you ever conclude that this guy is the real villain? He's just he's a perfectly reasonable boyfriend. Like, he's the most generic boyfriend ever. He's mad that his girlfriend is not spending any time with him and skipping his birthday and breaking promises. And like these, I don't know if it's rad femme women, or is it just like a standard thing that women in general think, who like this movie, of course, that this guy is the villain. But apparently, you can be inconsiderate and just completely blow your boyfriend off multiple times and expect him to be fine with that and only care about your career, and he's the bad boyfriend for. Or he's a bad character for like having a problem with that. That's pissing him off, and he shouldn't be pissed off. When you look at the events in the movie, and you're like, yeah, he's got every right to be pissed off. So again, what do you think of that?
No, yeah, I basically agree. I think like essentially it's a situation where she needs to actually like kind of take responsibility for changing her own situation, I guess, and that's I think the rational point. I feel like that's probably where Nate is coming from, and it's a little bit I suppose in a way you could say this film represents, I want to say, like a martyr complex, where it's sort of like she feels like she needs to do all of this stuff at the cost of the kind of like happiness of the people around her, and that's actually not reasonable, and they're kind of having to make, and like basically it's almost like the movie doesn't fully acknowledge the fact she has the choice to keep doing this in this environment, and she could duck out.
Well, I think the movie is kind of on her friends and her boyfriend's side, from what I can, because again, she is completely inconsiderate. Or she definitely puts her career above her friends, above her boyfriend. Like, she cares more about that. And to any reasonable person, you'd say, well, obviously, like, she's being a bad girlfriend or she's being a bad friend, And so the partner or the friends would be rightfully pissed off. But apparently there's a bunch of women on the internet, from what I've seen. Again, I don't want to generalize. This is just what I've seen, who think she is in the right and he is in the wrong, which is just insane to me, having watched the actual movie.
Yeah. In Paris, Andy spends a night with an attractive writer, Christian Thompson, who tells her that Jacqueline Follett, Miranda's is Follet, definitely. I don't know. They say it in the film, but I don't remember. Miranda's counterpart as editor-in-chief at French Runway is being prepped to replace Miranda. Andy attempts to warn Miranda, but Miranda dismisses her. So here's a thing that pisses me off. Why the fuck is Andy so ride or die for Miranda? Like, I was like, that's ridiculous. Also, Christian Thompson, in my view, isn't actually that attractive. I think he looks kind of fucking weird.
I watched a movie the other week called LA Confidential.
Ooh.
And have you not seen that?
I've heard of it. I've never actually seen it.
Well, it's funny. He plays a gay prostitute in that movie. In that movie, he gets murdered, which is fun. Yeah. But yeah, and he's also in the 2011 movie Margin Call. A great movie about the 2008 financial crisis. Yeah. Oh, he's with Kevin Spacey in both movies. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I just realized that. But yeah, Kevin Spacey is not in this movie. But yeah, this whole situation of Miranda getting overthrown as the editor-in-chief of Runway, it's not set up at all, and it just kind of happens. And yeah, it's kind of weird because it just gets very plotty all of a sudden. It's and this character Jacqueline Follet all of a sudden becomes really important out of nowhere. And it's just like
I had to look at I felt like I was fucking watching that. Oh, what's it called all over again? The really impossible to understand Secret Agent. Yeah, I felt like I was watching that. I was like, oh man, I'm so confused. What I wasn't expecting this. There's conspiracy afoot.
Yeah, again, if it was set up well, I think, or set up before, I think it'd be better. But yeah, it's just what's happening here all of a sudden, And it's kind of good that this thing goes away like 5 minutes later when it's like, oh no, Miranda knew, and it's all done, it's all okay. You asked why Andy is so ride or die for Miranda. I think again it's just like loyalty. Like she's been suckered in so much, like she thinks like she's nothing without Miranda, almost like she's attached to Miranda, like she has to do it. Because her conscience won't let her just ignore it. I think that's the reason, basically.
Cringe. Analysis. Do you want some analysis? This isn't hashtag analysis. Oh, wait, no, it is. Sorry. I misread. Hashtag analysis. Power dynamics and female leadership. The film highlights the double standards applied to powerful women. As Andy notes, if Miranda were a man, she'd simply be seen as focus rather than a dragon lady. However, it also explores the isolation of that power. Miranda's excellence requires a level of coldness that leaves her professionally untouchable, but personally lonely. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just say right away, obviously, that's not like... if you had a movie about a man who behaved like this, if anything, it would be considerably worse. And people would the reaction would be... Everyone would think it was like just a horrible movie.
Yeah, nobody would defend a man in this movie like this. Nobody would be like, oh, what about the double standard or whatever. They'd be like, wow, what a horrible boss, the worst boss ever. But because she's a woman, it's like, it's difficult for women, in corporate life, But again, like she behaves so badly. It's like, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. And I
that's
think
so woke of you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. But no, it's. I think the only way someone could behave like this and not get criticized for it is if they were a woman. I think that's the way around I look at it. And to be fair, if you had the worst male bosses as well, it's different too because they are often like sexually harassing people and stuff. That's what.
Oh, that would be so hot.
Yeah, well, that's you compared it's a 50 Shades of Grey earlier, the office scene where Andy walks in. So yeah, I mean, but that's okay in 50 Shades of Grey because Dakota Johnson's character Anastasia, she's okay with being sexually harassed, so that's fine. But yeah, it's true, by the way, that of course Miranda, well, I say it's true, like the movie is making this point that the fact that she's so good, it means that she can't have human relationships, and that is and it's kind of like an athlete, kind of like how Kobe Bryant operated with his Mamba mentality, or Michael Jordan, like they're so committed to being excellent that they push people away, and they're so isolated, they don't really have that many friends, and all of that kind of stuff. And
Nerd.
that's true, but again, I don't think Miranda as the editor-in-chief of Vogue is like an athlete. Like she's not an auteur. I think that's the word I was looking for before.
Yes, auteur.
Again, yeah, she doesn't need to do all this. She doesn't need to like push people away because again, you're not an athlete. You're not competing against each other, against other like editors in chiefs in the same way that athletes do. I don't think she needs to be this much of a workaholic. I don't think that is necessary for this job, basically.
The premise is flawed.
Yeah, it's like the same. Like you have nowadays CEO saying, "Oh, I get up at like 5 a.m. and take 3 ice baths," and it's like everyone acknowledges how fucking ridiculous that is. You don't need to do that. Like the whole Diary of a CEO thing is like elevating these CEOs to something that they're not. Like this mythical status of like, oh, they live so differently, they work so hard. It's like how sorry, you don't need to do all that. It's all performative, and I feel like the same thing is here. Like she loves this character Miranda loves being a workaholic. She loves doing all this work. That's why she does it. She doesn't actually need to do it. And I think there's a key difference there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I 100%. It's manufactured. Yeah. At a later luncheon, Miranda announces Jacqueline as Holt's new creative director, much to Andy and Nigel's shock. Miranda reveals she already knew of the scheme and sacrificed Nigel's ambitions to keep her job. I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but basically, so Nigel, who was kind of a dick to Andy earlier on, but we're supposed to like him now, he got really excited about the fact he was going to need a partner of a company, blah, blah, blah. He was really excited about that. But then, basically, so Miranda fucking flips the script by giving her would-be rival Nigel's future job.
Yes.
So, well done. Great.
Yeah, well, so I'm kind of happy that this plot isn't a big deal because it's set up to be a big thing. It's like, wow, this is going to be the climax to the movie. Miranda is going to lose, her position as editor-in-chief, and then no, she's not. But I'm kind of fine with that it's not a big deal because it's like, again, there's no setup, so it'd be like, wow, that came out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm cool with that. But yeah, just another reminder of how much of a awful boss Miranda is. Some could even say that she's the devil.
Could you say that this movie should be called Horrible Bosses?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a movie. Andy is repulsed by Miranda's betrayal, but Miranda points out that Andy did the same thing to Emily by agreeing to accompany Miranda to Paris. Not wanting to become the type of person Miranda is, Andy storms off. When Miranda tries calling her, Andy tosses her phone into the Fontaines de la Concorde. So yeah, two things. One, this movie really, really likes how can I put this? I guess apples to oranges. Oh, it does like Paris, but yeah. Basically, taking these things where it's like two things of very differing magnitude, obviously completely destroying this guy's hopes of this job that he really wanted purely to self-preserve yourself is very different from agreeing to take a job that a woman wouldn't be able to do anyway. Second of all, I will say this right now, I don't really fuck with the entire, I guess, main thing that should be the point of this movie, which is the idea that there's some actual threat of this woman going crazy. Like, I mean, we mentioned Mean Girls, obviously Rachel McAdams. Mean Girls did this better. I feel like most movies, actually, that try to do this plot of like, oh, this person's kind of falling to the dark side, all that kind of stuff, they do it much better than this. Like, here, Andy really doesn't seem like she's actually meaningfully going to the dark side at all. It's all just sort of like, even the fact that before she cheats on her boyfriend, they have to take a break.
Yeah, do you know who did it better 1 year earlier? The movie Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to say this reminds me of on the subject of Star Wars. It reminds me of Rise of Skywalker. How they like try to tease the idea that like, oh no, maybe Rey's going to turn to the dark side. But it's like, why? No, she isn't.
Yeah, well, it's what I said before with her boyfriend saying you're egotistical and vapid. And it's like, yeah, he's got every right to be pissed, but he's wrong on the criticism because she's not egotistical or vapid at all. Again, her character doesn't really change. The movie wants you to think she does, maybe, but she really doesn't. And it's the same here. It's the same here with this incident. It's a good scene in the car. I like it. It's shot very well. It's all in black. It's very cool. But it's not the same. Andy is not actually becoming the devil. She was forced to go to Paris. Miranda kind of threatened her and saying, well, it'd be very bad if you don't go to Paris, for your career, and Miranda did a lot of political maneuverings behind the scene. So she, remained as editor-in-chief and, in doing that, fucking over Nigel. Did Andy do any political maneuverings behind the scenes to get to Paris? No, she just turned up at Miranda's house one night and Miranda said, hey, you're going to Paris.
Yeah,
that's how it went down. So yeah, it's like you say, it's apples to oranges, and this movie wants to do this thing where it's like, oh no, Andy is becoming like Miranda, and she's in some respects because of how driven she is and how determined she is. But it's but I would say she's always been driven and determined, given that's how she started the movie. So again, it's not a character arc. But yeah, she's not becoming more like Miranda. Because she always, throughout the movie, always has a conscience. Again, she just gets suckered into this world, and like, that's what happens to her. Again, that's what from watching the movie, that's what I take
and
from
even
it.
then, I was just gonna say she only gets suckered into it insofar as it seems harmless, so it's kind of like, it's not as if like she gets suckered into a world that is conspicuously evil. She gets suckered into a world when she thinks it's just going to Paris and trying on some nice outfits, which is a very normal thing to be like, oh yeah, that seems like a fun thing to do. And then as soon as she realizes it actually requires any degree of like moral subjectness, she's like, oh no, that's no good.
As soon as she has like significant moral qualms, she leaves, doesn't she? Like, the first if she'd continued with Miranda after this, it would be like, oh yeah, maybe she is turning into Miranda, but she again leaves as soon as she has the opportunity to veer slightly towards Miranda. She just goes. I was thinking, if you wanted to do this, maybe because obviously Emily gets ill, and that's what causes her to make a mistake potentially at that charity event, and then of course after that Andy goes to Paris. What you could do is have Andy do something that would cause Emily to fall ill. Maybe
which would
Emily
be quite significant.
Maybe Emily pisses her off somewhat, which of course is it's not that far-fetched, and then and Andy's like, well, you know what, I'm going to sabotage you, I'm going to put something in your drink or whatever, or I don't know, some fucking shit like that. I'm going to give you food poisoning, and you're going to fall ill, and then Meryl Streep's character, Miranda, she's going to be pissed with you, and I'm going to go to Paris. And that would be, okay, maybe she is becoming more like Miranda, but no, nothing like that ever happens. Like, all Andy does is do her job. And that's enough. So again, it's not the same at all. I do like when this is so I'm criticizing that, and you are too. Like, no, we do not think Andy is becoming like Miranda at all. But I do like that Miranda says everybody wants to be like us, because I think that to me is what is true in this movie. Like, the glamour appeals to every person regardless of their background. Again, this girl, she didn't give a damn about the fashion industry, but all of a sudden, like, she's, again, I use that term, suckered in. She's been suckered into this world. And everybody, no matter how much they'd be like, nah, I don't really care. I don't really want to be your assistant. I don't, I'm not like these other, egotistical, vapid girls who want to work for Runway. No, once you get in this world, like, you do want to stay because of the glamour. So I think that part is true. And I think that, the movie focused more on that. It'd be the ending would have been better. Do you understand?
No, absolutely, I could agree. Like, at the end of the day, the fashion aspect just seems pretty fun.
But well, it's not just, it's the glamour, it's the stature, it's the excitement, of being at the center of this, again, multi-billion-dollar industry in New York and Paris, two of the most glamorous cities on earth. Like, how can you not get suckered into that kind of life? Anyway, let's continue.
Back in New York, Andy has an interview at the New York Mirror newspaper. The editor recounts that when he called Runway for a reference, Miranda told him that Andy was the biggest disappointment she had ever had as an assistant, and that he would be an idiot not to hire her. Wow, what a twist. There you go. They respect each other. Well, she respects her. Cool.
Yeah, again, I do like that, because Miranda dislikes that Andy didn't follow her. That's why she says she's her biggest disappointment. But she acknowledges that Andy is talented and very hardworking, and so it's a nice ending. It shows a bit of the human side to Miranda, which you didn't really see at all in the book, by the way.
Okay.
So, but I like that. Makes her character feel a bit more realistic.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of the book, #analysis about the book. In the book, Andy is much more cynical and complains constantly. She never gets fashion or respects the industry. She mostly just survives while waiting for it to be over. In the movie, Andy actually becomes good at her job, respects fashion, and takes pride in her work, which makes her eventual choice to leave much more meaningful. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, it sounds like the book would have been very different if that's the case.
Yeah, well, I said before, the book sounded a bit shit to me, and this was one of the reasons why. Because
I mean, unless the book is like focusing on some completely different conflict, but I don't know. Yeah.
No. The book seems to me to be much more like depressing, because again, Miranda's character is much more like toxic in the book and has no redeeming qualities, and Andy just hates her job and just is waiting for it to be over. While in this movie, yes, of course, like I said, Miranda is still toxic and still, a really bad boss. But again, there are some redeeming aspects to her. Some just a couple in a couple of scenes, and Andy, of course, the big change is Andy really likes her job, or really gets invested in her job and starts to respect the fashion industry, and again embraces it. And yeah, it makes, like the analysis says, it makes her eventual choice to leave much more meaningful in the film. So yeah, that's good. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
That's why I say I think the movie is an improvement on the book.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see how the book, because it's weird, because you would think with the book being, written, it would focus much more on her internal narrative and stuff, and therefore a conflict.
Well, I think it does. It does focus on her. It just takes a different path.
Okay, yeah, just her internal conflict throughout the whole thing. After getting the job, Andy calls Emily and offers her the clothes she obtained in Paris. While walking past the runway office building, Andy sees Miranda and waves at her. Miranda does not acknowledge Andy, but smiles to herself once seated in her car. Yeah. I will say I didn't dislike this ending. I thought like this ending in terms of just like they go away, they just kind of part ways, rather than there being some big sort of bombastic, emotional. Like I thought the simplicity of the ending was quite interesting, personally.
Yeah, no, it's a very nice last final shot. I do like it. Yeah, like this woman Miranda, she is kind of the devil, and yeah, I need to move on. Again, it'd be better if her character was, if she had a better character up until this moment. But it's a very nice way to end the movie. Very good. Yeah, it makes me wonder how the sequel is gonna treat that. But yeah, let's conclude. Michael, you go first.
So basically, overall, for me, this film, again, I'll just go back to the fact it's watchable. And the whole, I'd say that the two things that to me stand out, I'm trying to think if it's going to end up being two things. One is kind of, as you touched on, I think, and pointed out more regularly, so I imagine you'll mention this more in your conclusion, the whole weird thing about how this movie presents the characters and I guess challenges that Andy faces, and like her rising up to those challenges is sort of presented as almost heroic and cathartic, but in a way we're sort of like, actually she should just duck out right away. But to me, I think the biggest issue with the film that stops it from being particularly good is that she fucking doesn't like actually go through much of a character arc. There's never really any sense of proper temptation. I think that it makes the film very disappointing. As such, I'm gonna only give this a low 6. I mean, I don't know what you're gonna give it. Maybe that's even lower than you give it. But I just think, for me, it's like it's watchable, which I think the highest I go is middling 6. It's watchable, which is fine, but it has, I think, two major flaws that mean like actually engaging with it as a movie, you're like, it's not got too much to offer.
No, I think it definitely is watchable because again, good pace, good performances, good moments, an engaging world, it's an interesting, insane world that intrigues you, this fashion industry.
I will say, just very briefly, I don't know if I'd say it's incredibly rewatchable, not to disagree with your best friend there, but yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Watchable, rewatchable, whatever. The point is, I didn't feel like switching it off while watching it because I'm like, this movie was keeping me constantly engaged, and I know that, of course, that's a big thing for you. So yeah, I'll give it props for that. That's good. But again, I think this movie doesn't acknowledge the toxicity of the situation that Andy is in, really, and kind of, brushes it under the carpet, to be honest. And yeah, I again, like you said, the character arc I don't think really happens. But the movie again doesn't criticize things enough, and doesn't go as far as I think it should based on what I saw. So yeah, again, like I can compare it to Whiplash before. Like Whiplash makes no bones about the how abusive J.K. Simmons is in that movie. It's very clear. And there's nothing glamorous really about it, to be honest with you. And well, nothing like this movie. And I think if the movie was a bit more like Whiplash, would have been better. Would have been more honest. But yeah, so I'm only going to give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. But yeah, again, not awful. So Michael, we're going to predict what the Rotten Tomatoes score for The Devil Wears Prada 2 will be. I've got a number.
Do you know what the original film got?
Yes, I'll look right now.
Okay, yeah, I just want to know that. I just found myself 75% is the answer.
So it was 75%. So let's do the 3, 2, 1 countdown. 3, 2, 1,
78.
Okay, you think it's going to be higher? That's
I think I thought I'd be a little bit brave and just say, because sometimes that does happen. Often with like legacy sequels, I think it can happen. It's like like Top Gun Maverick, for example. But whatever, we'll see.
Yeah. There's no way this movie's the sequel's going to be better. I'll be shocked if it is. Anyway, Michael, let us tell everyone what we will review next time.
Well, we're going to be reviewing the movie Network. Is that like the one from the 1970s? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing 50-year anniversary of Network.
Yes. So join us for that. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Great. We can do that next week.
I've been Michael.
Yeah, I've been Luke. Thanks for joining us for our review of The Devil Wears Prada, and see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.